Welcome to KurtDylan Music Show. Unscripted. Welcome to the KurtDylan Music Show. As the name suggests, this show is totally unscripted. Thus, there's no chance of anything interesting or brilliant coming out of my mouth, not that it usually does. So let's just begin. What I will be doing is simply looking at items in my CD collection and analyzing them. Maybe I'll say something interesting, I probably won't. But let's be optimistic today. Something amazing could possibly happen. So right there I have Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, which I think may be one of the Beatles' best albums. A lot of people don't think so. They either think it's amazing or they think it's horrible. They just go to extremes. Nobody ever has a compromise. Like, it's okay. No, it's either it's the worst Beatles album of all time, or it's amazing. It's the best Beatles album of all time. So you don't really know what to think about it. Speaking of Beatles albums have really good covers, and that's because the Beatles themselves really wanted to be a part of the process of making them. They want every part of their album to be special, and that's why they, did that. And the best thing about it is that we got a lot of very memorable covers. Each one of them is pretty good. Speaking of their covers, I guess today we're just going to talk about their covers then. Speaking of their covers, remember that cover they were going to have for Yesterday and Tomorrow? I think that's what it was called. The Butcher cover where they were covered in a bunch of baby heads, not actual babies' heads, so that would have been horrible. And a bunch of meat, and they were wearing butcher clothing, and they were just there. Now, that cover actually got recalled for another one wherein Paul McCartney was just in a suitcase, and that isn't that very much fun. The thing is that people are a bit too sensitive. I mean, I thought it would have been amazing to have a cover with them covered in babies, not because I'm some sort of psychopath, but because I think, what's so bad about it? I mean, it was a pretty nice cover nonetheless. I guess that people are a bit sensitive about that stuff, babies. Let's move on to other covers. Oh, Beatles For Sale. Beatles For Sale was a cover where they were looking really stern, just looking at the camera, and it was all black and white. And people really, I mean, it was a nice cover, but it was also a bit too serious, and that's why it's really funny, because in the American version of that cover, they actually tinted it blue, so it kind of loses everything. Now they kind of look like Smurfs, but not really. So yeah, and let's continue. So the first cover, Please Please Me, was just a very usual cover. There was really nothing special about it, but a lot of people parodied it nowadays. I like it, but it's not, amazing. It's a usual cover. I wouldn't have much to say about it. I like the cover for Rubber Soul because you have everybody look at different parts of the looking at different places because the image was warped. Because what happened was they were doing a simple photo shoot for the cover, but then the photographer made it so that it was warped accidentally, and then everyone was like, "Whoa, that looks amazing," and then just went with it. And the funny thing is that when you look at it, it only seems like John Lemon is looking at the cover, so apparently he's the only one who knows how to look at cameras. A lot of people really liked that cover when it came out because it was kind of strange and psychedelic, and the Beatles really liked that. It's almost kind of irritating how the Beatles were really interested in doing something strange and psychedelic. They were almost obsessed with doing something different. That's what made the Magic Mystery Tour, which... The thing about the Magic Mystery Tour was that they went a bit too far. It went to the point that it wasn't even... It went from somewhat ridiculous and not even funny anymore. Because the thing was, when you see the other albums like Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band or Revolver or even Rubber Soul, you feel like, ooh, it has a reason for that. It's experimental, but it still works. Meanwhile, with Magic Mysteries Tour, it just... I don't know. I don't know why they did it that way, but it doesn't really matter. Speaking of which, Yellow Submarine was a great movie. I mean, for a movie just made in 11 months, especially animated, it's pretty good. And it keeps with that psychedelic vibe that the Beatles were going for, and actually represents them really well, even though they didn't do the voice acting. They only appeared in the last scene, and they were so smug. I mean, it was obvious that they were phoning it in, but they were doing it in a way which made it seem like they didn't care. They were just gonna do it. They were gonna do whatever they want. I really like the joke that Paul McCartney made that when Ringo pulls a hole out of his pocket, and then he says he can fix it to keep his mind from a wandering. Because that goes to the song Fixing a Hole, Fixing a hole where the rain gets in, stops my mind from wandering. where it will go. Boom, 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 boom. And it doesn't really matter if I'm wrong, I'm right. Where I belong, I'm right. Where I belong, bum, bum, bum. You know, that song? I got kind of sidetracked right there. I'm not sure if I sang it right. I really like that song. It was a pretty nice song, but it doesn't really matter. So yeah, it really feels like they phoned it in. And yeah, I really like the ending of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band because you see the actual Beatles and you see them acting like way, and it's kind of strange, but it's also kind of heartwarming. You know, it's kind of charming. It makes you feel nice. It gets you all warm and fuzzy inside. No, it doesn't. It's just kind of strange. Anyhow, so yeah, let's continue. I really like the cover for the Revolver. I mean, I really like the drawing style, and it's a really nice cover. They should really make covers like that. People don't really take chances with covers anymore. They just make, you know, usual mainstream stuff that people will like and they won't really remember, but they'll just say, "Oh, that's a nice cover." I mean, it was a nice picture, I guess. Nobody really cares about that anymore. They just care about doing something that sells. They want to be kid friendly. They want to be family friendly. Nobody cares about taking chances. Well, enough with that rant. I think we're done for today. We talked about the Beatles, cover something I didn't think I would talk about today. So I hope my blatant unprofessionalism did not scare you away, and that you have a good night and rock on.
Rock on.